in being here and doing the vetting process and the participation that you're going to have in the next couple of weeks. And for being here tonight.
Well, I just say a couple things really quick. I'm Chris Knoll, I'm the Salt Lake County Republican Party Chair. I'm very glad to be here. By the way, I just really quick, let's give a round of applause to Christy for all the work she's done. You have an amazing team running Utah County, and I'm just so proud of them and happy to be working with Christy and her team. And also thank you to all the candidates who are here that are running. I'm just, as delegates, we don't often get the opportunity to elect somebody to put into office. This is a rare opportunity. So I'm glad that you're able to be here today. I'm glad that Salt Lake County has a sliver of delegates who also get that opportunity. But you know, this is a unique opportunity and something that I hope you recognize during the session. So follow on, whoever you vote for, follow on, see what they do, because this is unique and it's something that you don't get to do very often. I would be more involved, but I also have my own House district special election that I'm running right now. In fact, they're in a town hall in across town. So, but anyway, I'm spending too much time. But thank you for being here, for doing your job as a delegate. Hopefully, you make your decision based on the principles of our party, which is how we unite behind. And so, when you're thinking about who you're going to vote for and the questions that you ask, I hope that that's what's on your mind, so that you can represent your precincts properly. Thank you again so much for what you do, and that's all I'll say.
Okay, so just a couple of things. Raise your hand if you are a precinct chair and you got a text from me. I just want to see if what I'm doing is working. Fantastic. That's wonderful. Okay, and then also, will you do me a favor? We just had at the Central Committee meeting on September 16th, we had new House district elections. And so we have new House chairs, we have some are new House vice chairs and education officers. If you are one of those, would you raise your hand so that people can see? Okay, fantastic. All right, welcome. Thank you guys so much. So I just have a couple of things that I want to talk about really quickly before, and so grateful to our candidates. I love this process, and Chris isn't wrong, I put a ton of time into this. They called me and they said, both the state and Salt Lake, that they had a lot going on, and that if I wanted to, go ahead and front up these events, to go ahead and do that, just because everybody's very busy right now. And I said, absolutely, whatever it takes. Because a special election for a senator is such a big deal, and your vote is weighted so heavily. So if you want to talk about representative government where your vote really matters, this is one of those times. And so, but to be able to have 12 candidates that thankfully stepped up, but to have a process that allows you to vet them is going to be difficult. And so that's why we packed so much into such a short amount of time. I hope you can make it to a couple of these. I hope you can get on the phone with these guys. I hope you can check out their websites. Vet them. That is your job. You were elected by your community to make sure that you send about what's happening in the state legislature. You don't vet them, the finger has to get pointed back to you. So just a couple of things that I wanted to say. I am very much a fan, and in Utah County you will see that we will be holding events that are controversial, that involve discussion, that involve thought, that involve bringing the best ideas and bringing them forth and defending them. And so a lot of these questions tonight and questions that you submitted, I hope fall into that category. I hope you ask the tough questions. I've been joking all week to a couple of people that I will have not done my job with this event if at the end of it we know nothing more than answers like family, community, responsible development, conservative. Like, I went to some of the city council events recently, and I left not knowing any more. They all looked the same because every answer was so typical like that. And I thought, but the problem is when they get in office, they vote black and white. There's no squishy middle. You have to choose. And they're voting your freedom, your money, and your property. All the rights to those things. It's a big deal. And so thank you for coming tonight. We're going to ask the hard questions. We hope that you guys do. I think a lot of these guys are ready for the hard questions. If they're not at the end of this process, hopefully we'll all be smarter and better for it. So, all right. let's explain how this is gonna go. Let me take a look at, will you guys move the slide over? Sorry, my clicker didn't work here, so I'm working with the. A couple of housekeeping things. I'm sorry if you're from Salt Lake County, but I couldn't resist the opportunity to let you guys know of a couple of things that are happening in the county. And so if you need to take a picture of that, we'll have that on the website soon. The website's almost done. If you've been frustrated with the website in the past, we have an awesome website that is just a couple of days away from being launched. And so there's a couple of really fantastic events that are happening. The one down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, that's probably the most important, is caucus. And that is going to be on March 5th. And I'm going to have Carrie, she is our education officer, just take a second because it's going to involve you, a lot of you in this room, and so she's going to tell you just a little bit about that.
So it might seem kind of early to start talking about caucus, but it is going to be March 5th. It's going to be a presidential preference caucus this year, so that's why we want to be starting early to think about it and to even start getting ready. So March 5th, we want to advertise 6 p.m. so that we can get everybody in and registered and start at 7. We're going to be offering a handful of county-wide training starting in January. Make sure that everybody feels that they are fully prepared. So that it can be as successful as we can make it. And the education officers for the House districts will also be able to provide additional training. So if you feel that you need additional training, be in contact with your House district officers. That's what they're there for. A couple things that we want you to be thinking about right now. Number one, where are you reserving your location? So if you like where you had it last caucus, and you think it can hold maybe about twice as many people, chairs might be the biggest issue, but then go ahead and start communicating with your House district chair and let them know where you would like to have your precinct caucus held, and they can take it from there and make the reservations. But if you could pick that out and let them know. And don't forget about charter schools. They're a great possibility for reserving large rooms also. Make sure to check your calendars, make sure that you're able to, if you're precinct chair, to host that night. If not, give your vice chair a call and see if they can do it for you, so that whoever's going to be hosting, they're going to be able to start preparing now. So, and all of you that are delegates, give your precinct chair a call and let them know that you're available and ready to help. So, lots that are happening, lots of things to be excited for. So.
Thank you, Carrie. If anybody wants to be on the caucus committee, we need people that can help us. So if you were there in 2016 and you have some ideas on how to make sure that doesn't happen to us again, we need you on the committee. So reach out to one of us and let us know. Okay, just a couple of things on the microphones. I have been told please don't tap, blow on them, or turn them off. And it is best to just keep them on the stand and move the whole stand. So, did I do a good job? Those girls were loud for me. Okay, and then somebody asked ladies about maybe turning the stage lights a little brighter and these ones a little dimmer. Is that a thing? If it is, you guys work it out. We'll see. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is how it's going to work. My husband, Kevin, is in the front row, and I roped him into being our timekeeper. And so he is going to keep us on a really strict time, and he's in education, so that should be easy for him. Timekeeper. So I don't know what his hand, if you use hand signals, 1 minute, what's your plan?
What are we? Can you tell me what we're doing?
So if they have 1 minute, then you tell them when they're down to 1 minute.
So should we do this when you have 15 seconds left? And then when you see this, you're done. Is that fair? Okay.
Okay, and also just a couple of things. We are going to keep the questions that you asked and possibly use them in the next event. So please don't get your feelings hurt if your question didn't come up. We are really constrained with time. We'll go through them, and if it's a good one, we'll keep it. Also, same with everybody here, we realize there's a lot of candidates. This is not going to be a ton of microphone time. And so just understand that. Also, so he's the timekeeper. We're going to do introductions. They have 1 minute for an introduction. Then we're going to do 12 questions. They drew their numbers for those. Then Carrie is going to vet some of the questions you guys did, and we'll go through those. And then they'll have a 2-minute closer. So that's the process that we're going to go through. So we'll just go down the road here. 2-minute introduction, 1-minute closer. Thank you. I did that earlier too. Swap that. 2-minute introduction, 1-minute closer. That makes more sense. Okay, so I'm going to give them my microphone, and you can go down the row and watch Kevin for your time. And thank you guys for coming. Let's give them a round of applause. Unless you guys want to come up. No. Just go down the road. Okay.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Rasmussen, and I'm a lifelong Utah. Lived in the district for a couple of years. It's where my husband grew up. We love District 22, and we love Utah. It's where we want to raise our family. So we'll have a lot of people tonight who are going to talk about their decades-long experience in the party. And I really respect all the work they've done to bring us this far forward. But sometimes decades-long experience bring you ineffective politicians like Joe Biden. We know what he's been doing, and Mitch McConnell, who hasn't been doing great either recently. That will bring you the status quo. That's going to bring you the same. I'm asking for representation. That's what we need. It's not about experience, it's about representation, and that's what I'm going to bring to you. I have I have a few years of experience in government consulting, and I have specialized in bridging the gap between state governments and federal government and the people, those policies that they create affect. I have worked alongside small businesses. When the COVID lockdowns happened, I helped them get grants and get funding so they could keep their doors open. I worked with farmers across the country, helping them with their water efforts, not only to save water, but to help the land and the soil be healthy, and to help their economic output. I've worked with veterans healthcare facilities and helped streamline processes so our service members get the health and care and benefits that they not only need, but deserve. I care about Utah, I care about these issues, and I care about representation. I know how the process works, I know how the strategy works, and I know, more importantly, how to involve you inside the strategy. We need to do better, and I hope that I can earn your trust and your vote on October 11th.
Hi, I'm Max Sims. I know many of you. I look out here and I see so many great friends, people who have been working side by side with me to help build the party and society. I just finished being vice chair here in Utah County and worked on a lot of great things. But a quick few things about me. I'm lifelong Utahn. I've lived in the district for 16 years now with my wife and our 5 kids. I love it here. I think this is a great place. But one of the things that sets me apart from the other candidates here is you guys have seen me. I have been here. I have been working. I have been solving problems for the party. I have been fighting against the things that matter to you guys. You don't have to question my work ethic and what I'm going to do when I go up to the Capitol to be your senator. There's a few things that are important to me that I want to talk about real quick. First of all, education is very important, okay? I brought forth a bylaw here in Utah County, Bylaw 11, to make it so we could run endorsing votes in local school board races. We need to have more conservative voice in school boards. As a senator, I would go and push to have partisan local school board races because we need to have more voice in our schools. It's too big of a chip on the table. It's too important for us. I believe that parents should be the first and foremost deciders on the pathway for education for their children. I support choice in education. I want to see that every parent can choose how to educate every single student. With the 5 kids that I had, we had a different pathway for education for each one of them. And finally, technology is very important. I'm very concerned about some of the things. I'm a 35-year technology professional. We have no technology professional in the Senate. And I'm worried about things like artificial intelligence, digital privacy, and protecting our kids online. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. My name is Lockhart, and I'm looking forward to earning your trust to be the next Utah State Senator for you. I was born and raised in Utah County, and I now live in Holbrook Farms, which is just south of Camp Williams. I have been serving on the Lehigh City Planning Commission for the past couple of years, and that is where my firm belief in local control has developed and grown very strong. I support our cities and the tasks that they've been given to build and develop our places that we live and to look forward to our growth. I support our counties in their stewardship of our elections. And I support our state legislators in their abilities to set policies that protect us from the overreach of the federal government. I'm a strong conservative, and I look forward to continuing the conversation and earning your vote. Thank you so much.
My name is Wade Ireland. I'm grateful to be here tonight. We have an embarrassment of riches on this stage. I think it's a great thing that about a dozen people step up when there's an opportunity to serve and say, there's problems here, and we're willing to take them on. I've spent my career in heavily regulated industries. I started my career, I spent a couple years on Dick Cheney's staff, then I became an intelligence officer and hunted armed smugglers and human traffickers as an operative in the field for a number of years. I served one tour in Iraq, came home, and as I was looking to transition out and go into the private sector, I got into business school in Stanford. We're getting ready to move to California when my little brother called and said, he just finished Embry-Riddle and there were no jobs for pilots. What do we do? And I said, I don't know, man. Your gift is you've always known what you wanted to be. I haven't had that, right? I chased shining stars. So what's it going to take to keep you in the air? And he said, I don't know, buy a plane, start an airline. And he said it very tongue-in-cheek for a family of kids who grew up, not in a position to do that for sure. And but that's what we did. I ended up not going to business school. We built an airline. The airline became $1 billion company. It's publicly traded now. But we built the first airline that that doesn't sell tickets, and the only airline in the world that does. We did that in a super heavily regulated industry. An airline would fly and we skip TSA. After running airlines for a number of years, I was sitting on a school board in Bridgeport, Connecticut, the largest and poorest city in Connecticut. We took kids that were 2 years behind, and we would get them caught up and into high school. We're very proud of what we're doing. And I said, that's not the goal. Going to college isn't the goal. What we want to do is tell what happens to them after college. Take these impoverished kids, and what do we unlock? Right? What's their future? I learned that 80% of our kids would drop out of college in the first 2 years. That terrified me. And so again, I started looking to say, what are our options? And I dug in and I built another business where we guarantee how much money you can make when you graduate from college. I spent my time finding problems and then going in and building solutions. And I think what you need in this senator and in this race, this senator is going to get one session to make an impact. You need someone who's going to get in and go. And that's what I think I can do today.
Hi, I'm Charles Wood, and I am currently on a leave of absence as the current Utah County Republican Party Vice Chair. I grew up in Orem, and my wife and I have lived here in Lehigh for the last 13 years. I have 5 kids. My 2 oldest kids go here to Lehigh High School. I have 2 kids at Lincoln Academy, which is a charter school in Pleasant Grove, and then my youngest daughter goes to Odyssey Charter School in American Fork. And so I'm a huge proponent of school choice. When my oldest son started going to school at Odyssey Charter School, I wanted to be involved. I wanted to know what was going on, and so I ran for the school board. I've been on that board for that charter school for 11 years, and I've seen the good that the government can do for schools, and I've seen kind of the frustratingly bad and inefficient that they can do for schools. And then some of these social issues started to creep in. And that same son, who was that little kindergartner, came to Lehigh High School, and on his first day of school, there was a teacher, you may have seen it, the video went viral, it was on Rumble. she started saying all kinds of things that I didn't agree with, and swearing in class, and there was a big to-do about it, but it kind of drove home to me that some of the things I was hearing about happening in other places were happening here too. And at that time, I was also already involved. I had gone to a caucus meeting, been elected precinct chair, and at the time was serving as the vice chair in my house district. And I really started thinking, okay, how do we make a difference here? What can we do? And so I ran for school board last year, and I'm running here this year. Education isn't the only thing I'm concerned with. I'm also a technologist. I actually worked with Mac in the past. And I'm concerned with where some of these technologies are taking us, and I also want the state to be able to take advantage of some of the technologies that are coming our way. And so as we work through some of these issues, we look at some of these social issues, and we consider what kind of a legacy we're going to leave for our kids and what kind of work we're going to do, then we need to consider where we're headed. I'm Charles Maxwood.
So I've never met you before, but I'm a little disappointed because you mentioned that you did a tour in Iraq and nobody applauded. So can we give him an applause? On the line for this country, and maybe the only person on the stage that's done that. So thank you for your service. My name's Garrett Cammans. I'll keep it simple. I want to keep government small. I want to keep children safe, and I want to keep our roads. Never mind. Make our roads work. So kids need to be safe. They need to be in environments where their morals and the integrity that they're taught at home aren't challenged in the school building. And that means providing a safe education and providing a voice for the parents and making sure that voice is heard, and also providing a choice for parents so that they have the ability to choose the environment and the time and the place that's right for their child's education. And that's what I care about. Thank you guys.
My name is Craig Frank. Thank you for being here. In 1991, my wife Kim and I loaded up a moving truck and moved to Provo, Utah to finish my education at BYU. After we graduated from BYU, we had 2 kids when we entered, 3 kids when we left, and we had our 4th child in Pleasant Grove when we moved to Pleasant Grove shortly after that time. In 2002, Kim and I attended our caucus meeting. And it was at the junior high school, Pleasant Grove Junior High School, and we came out of there as county delegates. We had no idea what we were doing and what our responsibilities were, but we determined that we were going to get involved. The very next year, I ran in a midterm vacancy election, legislature representing House District 57. For 8.5 years, I served in the State House. During that time, I learned a lot of very interesting things about this lawmaking process and policy making. I sat on the Education Committee for 4 years. I chaired the Government Operations Committee. I was the vice chair of a Revenue and Taxation Committee. The chair was John Dougal. You might recognize that, and there's Auditor Dougal's name there. He and I were responsible for creating the sales tax on food, a reduction, a state component of that. We also were involved heavily in the largest tax cut in Utah history at that point, which was $500 million. Now, I know that pales in comparison to what the legislature just did, but it was a big mark at that point. We also did a number of other great, wonderful things. I'm the only person in this race, I believe, that's served in the legislature. Normally, the House is a good incubator for what you get later on as you look for representation in the Senate. I provide the Utah Grassroots Strength League. Please take a look at my website. It's all there. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Nikki Walker, and I'm really excited to share my vision for Senate District 22 with you. As a worker in the industry of technology, I'm very well versed on how innovation and economic advancement is important for our district. I'm a principled and conservative, and my top priorities right now are limited government and individual liberty. I really do believe in cutting the bureaucratic red tape in order to make sure that our citizens and our businesses are empowered. Education and workforce development are really at the core, at the heart of my agenda. And that's because I understand that an educated and an upskilled workforce is really what can get us to economic development and economic success. I know that a well-educated and skilled workforce is really essential for us right now. But my commitment to our community is not just a political one. I am a public servant. I've served on many boards throughout Utah and Utah County over the last 6 years. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to work with the constituents and to work with the delegates to find out what it is that you are concerned with. I've spent plenty of years working with organizations like Utah Foster Care, the Children's Center, and the State Workforce Development Board to find out where the problems are and how we can create solutions. And I intend to do just that if elected to Senate District 22. Thank you so much.
I'm no stranger to politics. As the Community Engagement Director for Americans for Prosperity, my career revolves around recruiting and uniting concerned citizens who want to advance policies that will help people improve their lives. In addition to building coalitions and leading conservative education campaigns, I've worked to pass significant legislative reform, including school choice and income tax reduction. I'm also unequivocally dedicated to service. In 2005, I worked as a state humanitarian specialist in Saratoga Springs when Hurricane Katrina evacuees came to our state. For 2 months, I coordinated relief efforts for the evacuees, from recruiting volunteers from our local surrounding communities, including the cities in our district, to help distribute clothing, toys, luggage, and hygiene items. I worked tirelessly for these victims in their time of need. I don't mention this to seek praise, but I say it to illustrate my ability to mobilize, work diligently under pressure, and collaborate with others. After 17 years of living in Saratoga Springs, I can wholeheartedly say Utah is home. But in the spirit of transparency, I will admit that I am a California economic and political refugee. I was raised there, and I returned for a 4-year stint to be closer to family, but I realized something very quickly. Advancement, prosperity, and retirement were not possible in California. Progressive principles have ravaged the state, making it impossible for middle-income families to thrive. Utah, on the other hand, is the epitome of the American dream. Our economy is vibrant, and the fabric of our community is morally sound. We are blessed beyond measure to call this beautiful place home. But will our children have the same opportunities? What about our grandchildren? Utah's growing fast, but our district is growing even faster. It's critical that we pursue legislation that will help us hold on to what makes our community so special. Please vote me, Heidi Balderee, for your Utah District, Senate District 22 Senator.
Hello, everybody. I first want to just thank our Utah County and Salt Lake County GOP for putting on this event. Christy Henshaw, Chris Knoll, and your teams. This is wonderful. Thank you very much. I also want to give a quick thank you to Senator Andrick and his time as senator serving our community. You know, that's why we're all since 2020, when we had a governor tell us that we weren't allowed to have Thanksgiving dinner together, that this government machine has been trying to rip apart our community. So to you delegates, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking this process seriously. And more than that, thank you for instilling that community back in each and every one of us. My name is Garrett Dallin. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a lifelong Utahn. And I'm a concerned citizen. Each and every single one of us has issues that matter to us. My time in politics began when I was in college getting my bachelor's degree at UVU. and it's continued to this day. After I received my MBA from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, I came back and ran Chris Herrod's congressional campaign. Since then, I have served on Phil Lyman's exploratory committee for the governor's race, and currently I'm also helping Trent Staggs in his race to win U.S. Senate. But beyond those, the thing that I've found the most special to me was the last few months I've had the opportunity to vet all of our state legislators for the Freedom Caucus Network. This is the group tapped by the Freedom Caucus to create a Freedom Caucus in every single one of our states. I believe that with that experience, I can hit the ground running, and we need a senator that can hit the ground running. I want to be your partner more than just your friend. So look me up, GarrettDallin.com. Thank you.
Delegates hello, my name is Astill. I grew up in a working class family in West Valley City. I always had a job, I always worked hard, but I was not a good student. In fact, I was a terrible student and I almost didn't graduate high school on time. And really what turned me around was my mission service. I don't want to make this a religious discussion, but I got called to Houston, Texas to speak Vietnamese. And it's kind of weird, but it actually was great for me because Vietnamese language was very difficult, and so I had to dig deep and really learn how to study, and that taught me how to study. And it put me on a path for the future. When I got home, I started at Salt Lake Community College while I was working at the church office building and facilities management. Then I moved to UVU and I ended up graduating from BYU. Ultimately, I graduated from Georgetown Law School with honors. After working as an attorney for a couple of years, I served as a senior advisor in the United States Senate for about a decade, working on conservative policies like confirming President Trump's judges, like fighting to repeal Obamacare, like working for lower taxes and a better business environment for our companies. And for the last 6 years, I've worked with America's leading companies and governments at every level, working on these same conservative policies, trying to lower taxes, eliminate government waste, reduce regulation, and over the years, I have worked my tail off to get where I am. I've worked my tail off for conservative principles, and I promise you, if you vote for me as your next state senator, I'll work my tail off for you to address the issues that face us in northern Utah County. That includes transportation, roads. It means not growing faster than we have the infrastructure to handle. Do we have the water? Do we have the roads? Handling all that. It means making sure that our schools are teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, the basics, rather than strange progressive ideologies. My wife and I, we moved to Utah County, we moved to Lehigh, because this is where we want to raise our family. We love this area, we love these people. I know you, I'm Astill, I ask for your vote. Thank you.
I want to thank you guys all for being here today. I would much rather be up here talking about me than you vetting all these candidates up here. Reality is for me, I love America. I love our country. I love our state. We have some real problems. Most of the problems that we have surround dangerous ideologies. Most of the problems that we have surround a political apathy that most people are okay with accepting. And honestly, we've got a few nefarious actors thrown in there as well. That dynamic has led to a train of abuses and usurpations. In the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, it tells us that whenever we're subject to a train of abuses and usurpations, we're supposed to do something about it. It's our right, it's our obligation to do something. I admit that I was one of those politically apathetic people. I'm an innovator, I'm a business owner, I solve problems through innovation. The only reason why I'm an entrepreneur is because people come to me with problems, say, hey, can you help me, and end up creating a business for it. Because I like to solve problems, and I experience problems being pushed upon me by oppressive governments, by a federal oppressive government, and by now, what I used to think wasn't, but currently a state oppressive government, I felt those same feelings that the founders of our country, the signers of the Declaration of Independence felt. And I felt that I wouldn't be the person that my family raised me to be, that my community inspires me to be, and that people require of me if I didn't stand up and do something about it. My name is Devon, Millington. I can go as far as you send me, and I will die on my principles if necessary. Thank you.
Okay, one more round of applause. Thank you, guys. Just to like do openers, we got 12, so we're gonna move on these. Okay, up there, you awesome ladies, will you do me a favor? Put the slide up, or put the one that has the questions 1 through 12. Click, there you go. Yeah, right there. Okay. So, go ahead and take a look at your number. I'm going to give you a second. I have something to say while you're looking at it. So if your number is 1, please don't panic. You'll get a second. Those are questions. Some of them, I realized I did put some good questions in there because as I looked through a lot of your questions, a lot of those were repeats. And so they might be phrased a little bit different, but if you have, you may find some similar questions up here in 1 through 12 that you filled out on your 3x5 card. So I wanted to say, I just wanted to show you guys this one thing, and I feel pretty strong about it. I'm a huge nerd. I read constantly. I used to do policy, and political philosophy is my jam. And so I came upon this, and I thought, oh, this is exactly what we're asking for when we're looking at the caucus system, and we're delegates looking to elect a senator. And it's called interposition. Interposition is that which causes one to step into the gap, willingly placing oneself between the oppressor and the intended victim. Interposition is demonstrated when someone or some group interposes or positions themselves between an oppressor and the intended victim. So if you guys view government the way that I do and the way that government expands, when you are hiring a senator, you are putting somebody in that position. And that's why I view this election so completely huge. And thank you guys for coming. And so we're going to go through these questions, and this is how this will work. They have 1 minute to respond, so my timekeepers, you're still on it.
And we're going to start holding it up at 20 seconds.
Okay.
The alarm will go off. If you go 10 seconds over, I'll yell out time loudly so no one can hear anything else.
Okay. That sounds fantastic. Did you guys get that? Okay. Awesome. And I hope you guys can see as they did their introductions, you know, what great people that we have and some wide variety of backgrounds. But because when I listen to these things, I go, man, we could send anybody and it'd be great. And then my background is with the state legislature, and I go, that's not true. And so our job is to figure out where they differ and what you want represented for your community and the values that you hold. And so hopefully we'll be able to look at some of that tonight. After that, we'll take questions from the audience. I'll show you how that's going to happen. This is, who's got number 1? Max says. Okay, Matt, this question, and a lot of these I put, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit on because I had more notes and only so much will fit on the slide. And so we have found recently, at least I have, maybe you guys have known this all along, there's quite a bit of conflicts of interest with our state government and organizations that they can benefit from or belong to or that they could help. And so my question to all of you, I hope, is that you'll answer this, you know, eventually, but for right now, it's at Mac. Do you have any conflicts of interest?
So, you know, I'm not into real estate, so that gives me a pretty good position to not have a conflict of interest. But, no, I do not have any active conflicts of interest right now. But in full transparency, I do have a startup company I'm involved in that is specifically looking to bring innovation to government. I hope that's a positive thing. It's still in pre-funding. We have no contracts. We're still kind of building some technologies and stuff. But even if we were to have something, most of everything that we do is actually focused. But even if that were to come to be the place, that would go through an RFP process where the only way that if my company were to have something they would bid on in the state, it would have to go through an RFP process that I would be completely independent of, and that committee would decide whether that. Our main focus is actually for out of the state as well. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, RFP process is when you get a couple of bids, you look at all of them, and you try and make a fair process for approving any outside resources that you're looking at to fulfill needs. Okay, number 2. Who has number 2?
I have number 2.
You've got number 2, Craig?
I do.
Okay, so this one's a little in-depth, and I have to say, I apologize. I think this is probably the hardest one on the list, but I wanted to include include this one because I also want delegates to be educated on this. And just so you know, we are planning a herd up, which is to bring the whole county together with a panel or a debate. If anybody came to the ranked choice voting one, it will be similar to that. This one will be asking the state special district and people who are associated with that. You've heard of the Utah City that Vineyard is having, the Point up in Bluffdale. Okay, we're trying to figure out exactly how this is working, and so put that on your calendar. It'll be the end of October, the very beginning of November, where we are going to bring them in to talk about special districts. So, Craig, I'm actually glad you got this because you have a lot of experience with the state, and so I'm hoping. But the question on this is special districts and PPPs, for those who don't know, are public-private partnerships. And so the question about special districts and PPPs is, where do you see their role in government? Do you think they violate certain things? And I'll just turn it over to you I know that's a really broad subject, but whatever you can do in a minute.
Chrissy, I was hoping I wouldn't get this one, but I'll take this. So special districts are groups of individuals or cities or counties that band together to create special use local governments, effectively. A PPP, as far as I know, what you're talking about there is public-private partnerships. Is that where we're going with this? Okay, so public-private partnership is obviously one that's created by two parties. One is the government and one is a private party. Makes sense, right? And so what happens there is that the government lends authority to boards that may or may not be elected, usually not elected, usually appointed boards, and they oversee like Central Utah Water Conservancy, I think is one of the special districts, and they are given authority over local municipalities and counties to usurp your rights and privileges.
Okay, hang on. I should have done better to explain that because you did some good background. Will you just take 20 or 30 more seconds and tell us your feelings about those things?
Oh, I have no feelings about that. No, I'm kidding. So my feelings, whenever a elected body gives rulemaking or lawmaking ability to an appointed board, that's wrong. We need to make sure that, and if they do that, there needs to be proper oversight, and that's where the key is. We need the oversight is airtight, and that we're doing the best we can do to make sure that those appointed officers are staying consistent with law and administrative rule.
Thank you. And I apologize for the extra time, but I feel like that is really the hardest one on there and needs a little bit more setup. So the fact that we don't know how these work is why you guys need to look out for that herd up and come to that, because we're going to be asking the really hard questions. Just so you know, special districts have taxing authority. They make up 12 to 13% of your taxes in the state of Utah. Yet some of them have elected boards, some of them don't. Some have to hold a public meeting, some of them don't. So it gets a little bit hairy. And you have Spanish Fork, Lehigh, Orem all being proposed special districts in the form of transportation infrastructure districts or transportation-oriented districts, or you have public infrastructure districts that have been coming. So I know this sounds like a lot. We're going to break it down for you guys. That's my plug for that event, and that question is a tough one, but appreciate you taking the time on that. Okay, number 3. Wonderful, Jared. Okay, so now here's my little background with this. So as I told you, I have some state background. And I was going to remove the word bullies, but it stayed and time went on today, so I didn't take it out. But number 3 is strong-willed, backbone, and humility. I want to know where you are on this. Do you have strong will? Do you have a backbone? But are you humble enough? And I know that you can't even ask that question, because you can't be humble and ask a question about being humble. But can you stand up to Senate bullies? And I hate that I use that word, but I also don't hate that I use that word because that happens in the Senate. And so, how are you on that, Garrett?
So I'm actually happy that you use that word because I feel like I'm the only one up here using that word to define a few of our senators that are in fact bullying us. You know, I want to give a few examples. The short answer is yes, absolutely. I have the backbone to stand up to them. That's why I'm in this race. One of the big reasons why I'm in this race. I've talked to several of you, and I want to give a few examples of this. In the last legislative session, I'll talk about 2 very quick bills that we had go through the House through the committee, on the House floor, passed resoundingly, and it died in the Senate, which was third-party independent audits of our elections. And the other one was HB 202, which amended the signature gathering. And those issues are important to me, but I think it's important to us as we care about the caucus convention system and we care about election integrity. So yeah, we've got to go there. Whoever is elected to be the senator, we have to go there, and we've got to push back against this garbage that's happening in the Senate Rules Committee.
Who has number 4? Charles. Okay, number 4 just says data privacy question mark. I do know that there are a lot of data privacy bills that are a handful that are being proposed in the next legislative session. So my question about data privacy view is, how do you view data? Is it an individual profit off of it and to know where their data is going, and would you support a data privacy bill of rights in the state of Utah?
Right, so just to back up a little bit, we have an amendment to our U.S. Constitution that gives us privacy in our papers, right? They have to get a warrant to get our data into our papers. But today our papers is our data, right? And so we already have the right, in my opinion, to have our data protected and to keep it private unless there's a warrant provided to get into it. Now, should there be a data bill of rights? The concern I have is that data or technology moves so quickly that it has to be able to encompass things as they advance, right? It can't just be, you have to encrypt, you have to, right? It has to encompass all of that stuff, and it can't be so onerous on businesses that we're making it hard for businesses to start and then meet the regulations that we put forward. So there are definite concerns there, but yeah, I would support a data bill of rights, but we have to craft it in such a way to where it makes sense and is long-lived, and at the same time allows us to move forward with business practices and things like that.
Okay, number 5. Who has number 5? Okay, down on the end. Okay, so this one talks about equality of outcome or equality of opportunity, and I realize that those are not absolutes. But one field of opportunity for everyone, or should we be trying to curate outcomes based off of protected classes? So for instance, I know that in some of the Scandinavian countries, they were really baffled why they had more female nurses. And so they tried to put mandates, they tried to put caps on females and encourage more males to apply. But when they looked at the studies, they realized women naturally gravitate towards that field. And so my question is whether or not we should look at things like STEM or barriers, and we should bump up certain groups over others or have more.
For me, the only thing that we should be guaranteed from an outcome perspective are the things that are protected in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution: our life, our liberty, and our pursuit of happiness. That is the outcome that you should be promised as a citizen in the U.S. You should be also given every opportunity to find your success and make your way. When the Founding Fathers started our nation, they had to literally dig in the ground, shoot, hunt, fish, do whatever it took. And there was no guaranteed outcomes. They left their families, they left their countries, they arrived on the shores of America and made something of themselves. And they had equal opportunity. All of them had equal opportunity with no guaranteed outcome. And when they had a chance to give you an outcome, they wrote it down in the Declaration of Independence, they wrote it down in the Constitution, and they said to you, now go make your way.
Okay, number 6. Who's got number 6?
That's me.
Okay, that is probably the second hardest question on the list, however, and I realize it's loaded, so if you want to hone in on one, but I do want to say there has been a lot of conversations in the last year or two about ranked choice voting. There's also been mail-in ballots that were used. A lot of people like them. I did hear a really good suggestion from Chris that he had heard a while ago that, I'm just throwing this out there as ideas. He said, what if we did mail-in ballots? Well, this was somebody else that I did him, but what if we kept the mail-in ballots, but you had to turn them in person with ID at a polling location? And I thought, hey, maybe that's a good compromise. So, yeah. So my question on this one is, I was in government ops about a month ago, and they were talking about, the Lieutenant Governor's office came and they did a presentation about the jurisdiction on elections. And currently, I don't know if you guys know that cities have jurisdiction, but because of the signature verification machines, they turn that jurisdiction over to the counties because they have the machines to run it right now. And so they had talked about, well, since the counties are already doing it, should we just take jurisdiction away from the cities and give it to the county? And so I would like to know what your thoughts are on any of those ranked choice voting, mail-in ballots, jurisdiction, or internet voting. So I'm going to kind of leave it up to you, Heidi.
Excellent. I'm actually going to try to hit all of them because as many of you may know, I ran for county clerk, which would be over elections. So this really is a perfect question for me. Let me just start off by saying I do not like RCV. I'm really glad Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs chose not to use RCV. Lehigh did, and they are having buyer's remorse. Draper chose to use RCV in 2021, but not this year. So I support local control. But as a note of caution, it's touted as a cheaper alternative. It is. But be careful because you might get what you pay for. Next, let's talk about mail-in ballots. Universal mail-in ballots, let's get rid of them. Let's return to in-person voting with only those requesting absentee ballots as the exception. I haven't seen the right hand. Is it coming? Okay, internet voting. There are two instances where you can internet vote or blockchain vote, and that is it is for disabled people and for our military members. And I think that's a good thing because they had to waive their right to secret ballot before we had that option, and they would have to expose their vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, who has number 7? Nikki. Okay, number 7 is about non-governmental organizations. They're called NGOs. Some of them are nonprofits. Some of them push certain agendas. Some of them, there's a large amount of them in the state of Utah. They will want your loyalty and your friendship. That's just what they do. That's how it works. So you get elected by your constituents thinking you're going to meet with them and represent them, but the people who want to talk to you the most come from these organizations. And so my question to you is, how do you stay loyal to Senate District NGO friendship? They want to help you write a bill and nod and that type of thing. So very nice people. They are very nice people.
I love very nice people, but Senate District 22, as an elected official, would be my main priority. And as a principled person, I believe that all bills should uphold the rights that are given to us by the founders of the country, and that's life, liberty, and property. And so I really think that staying loyal to the district is what really would separates the good from the bad. And I would remain loyal to this district in the Senate with all of my dealings.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I have to say, I try and tell all legislators that they have an army behind them if they would just use it. And a lot of them don't use it. You have your whole districts of people who are talented and they are educated, and a lot of them do research, and you can have a whole team. So whoever ends up making it through this race, please know that you have a lot of people here that are brilliant and willing to work for you, and you don't have to do it alone. And so when those NGOs come to you with solutions, you have other people that can offer solutions as well. All right. Number 8. Who's got number 8? Okay, Emily. If you had a magic wand, what bills would you repeal? And so if you don't know bill numbers, categories work as well. So what would you repeal?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Thank you. I would absolutely repeal ranked choice voting in our state. Our fundamental right to vote and believe in the integrity of our elections is what everything in this country is built upon. When people don't feel heard, they go to drastic measures to be heard. And that is very concerning to me. And frankly, I am struggling to figure out what problem ranked choice voting was trying to solve. We were doing just fine before we came in and had multiple ways of counting the vote. What we had experienced was that in code, there are 2 different ways of tabulating the vote if it's a primary or a general election. And that complicates it and causes doubt from our citizens. However, to your point, I support local control, and I believe that we should not be giving that to the counties, and that our cities are the closest to our people, and they can hear the voice of the people the loudest, and they should have the control of their elections.
Okay, number.
Questions for one session, right? So this is the question. What are you going to do when you get there? I've got 4 things. We need to accelerate UDOT's already developed plans for Pioneer Crossing and 2100. Both of those things are miserable today. We've developed far beyond what the infrastructure is built for. We need to accelerate that into this coming year, not into 2030. 2, higher education accountability. Utah Valley University graduates 36% of its students in 6 years. That means 2 out of 3 families who send their kid there are actively harmed by having them. Utah Tech graduates 12% in 4 years. Right? 9 out of 10 families who send their kids to Utah Tech are actively harmed. They end up worse off for having them. So we need to tie educational outcomes to the state's funding and support for higher education. We need to bar prosecutors for seeking political office in Utah. So this is a national problem, but 10% of our Senate made their name selecting cases that are going to elevate their personal brand so that they can run for office. We have Alvin Bragg, we have Faye Willis, we have this happening all around the United States, and we need to make sure that's never a problem here. And 4th, we have builder controlled HOAs. That's where you have not elected a homeowner to determine what happens in your neighborhood, and the city has ceded the power to tax to them because they can raise your rates at will without your input. All 4 of those things need to happen and could happen in this session, and that's what I'm doing.
That's going to be next time we meet. That's going to be one of the questions. I couldn't put them all. Okay, number 10. Who has number 10? Corey. Okay, number 10. What bill passed last session were you in agreement with?
I think some good things happened last session. I'm going to give you 4. The first is the Tax Reduction Act. We got some tax cuts. They weren't big enough. Should have been bigger. But we did get our taxes cut. Second is restrictions on porn companies so they don't prey on our children. Third, social media restrictions so that, again, you know, in China, they don't even let their kids use TikTok, but yet they send it to us. Why? Because it eats their brains. Yeah, my kid's over there too. He's on TikTok. Fourth is putting a pause on the transgender surgeries and treatments for children who are underage. I think those are 4 great things that happened this last session.
Okay, number 11.
Yeah, thanks. I think our House did a pretty good job last year, except for this year. These got 2 watered down in the Senate. So I'm going to take a slightly different angle and talk about a couple bills that passed that should have gone further had they not been watered down in the Senate. One of those was school choice. I think it was great that we passed the bill for school choice. However, it only provided scholarships for a small number of parents in a certain income bracket sending their kids to private schools, and that is not adequate. We need direct reimbursement for parents who want to homeschool or send their kids and take advantage of other opportunities for education. The sports bill was great. I am glad that my daughter is protected on the field and that she can compete against other natural-born women. However, what happens to her in the locker room before she goes on the field? That needs to be addressed. Locker room should be about anatomy, not identity. And then last, the book banning bill. About burning books. We're talking about moderating the content that's in young child education. We did not give school districts the resources to attack the major list of books that are out there with pornographic and immaterial or inappropriate content, and we need to do more.
What's the question? We can't see it.
I will tell you. It is, what is your process for discerning good or bad bills? And there's a little background on this one. I have a process, and I've talked to other people that have a process. I run through 3 questions. Who decides what's the data and compared to what? And so I usually run through those, once I'm looking at past principles and those types of things. So like take ESG, who decides? Nobody knows. Some magic board that decides who gets to participate. And so when it doesn't go through those, I have a friend, he does it expand or does it increase or decrease government? Those types of things. And so my question is, do you have a process which you go through to decide if legislation is good? Because they can paint pictures, especially those NGOs can come and make something sound really good. So how do you do that?
Well, I also have a 3-step process. Number 1, is it constitutional? We have to compare it to the Constitution. Number two, how does it affect the district? How does it directly affect the people that I'm supposed to represent? Number three, who does it affect? Does it affect doctors? Does it affect teachers? How do they feel about the bill? We have to talk to them and appropriate experts in those areas. And look, something that I've learned from my years in consulting, when I'm working with clients, a lot of the time they sacrifice the better for the perfect. And we do that a lot when we're legislating too. We see it happen. There are bills that people feel don't go far enough, and so they just say no to the bills. And they just make no effort, and then nothing gets done. I want to go there, I want to make steps forward, pass bills incrementally, and so eventually we can get to these big goals. We have big goals in mind. They take time. We have to respect the process and get steps so we get better bills passed. That's it.
Okay, so we have questions that you guys have submitted. Some of them are a little lengthier. I tried to remove the ones that were already up there, like I said, so those aren't going to be included in this. And everyone can answer once before, but everyone answers once before anyone can answer twice. And so I want to do this because some of these might be a hot button issue. We don't just want one person to answer. So or they may say something that you disagree with and you would like to counter it. And so just know that if you use your comment for something, watch at the time, we'll see how far we get. But if you want to answer, just go ahead and raise your hand, and you can take a second if you want to see. But some of these are relatively easy. This one, I'm just going to ask for a number of years and just go down the road, because everyone you can ask, how long have you lived in Utah? This one we're just going to ask all of you. So just a number, we're just looking for a number. How long have you lived in Utah?
27 years, I'm 28 years old.
My whole life.
So 28 years. I spent 3 years in the state of Nevada, and then moved back after some entrepreneurship.
10+ years. 4 years Loves 3, went to TIFU, lived in Independence, in between.
Awesome.
There you go.
My dad went to dental school in Georgia when I was 2. So that's 3 years gone, and then I served a 2-year mission in Italy in 43, so 38 years.
Born in Salt Lake, grew up in Arizona, freshman year BYU in 2002, mission the rest of the time here.
I tip my hat, and I said we moved here in 1991, so that's 32 years.
Thank you guys, I appreciate that. Okay, so this one, I don't know if everyone wants to take this, but it says, I've attended many legislative sessions and I haven't seen some of you, if most of you. What's been your involvement in the legislative sessions? I don't know if anybody wants to use their one on this one, if you've been there and maybe we haven't seen yet, or, yes, Jared.
So I'll answer this, just to go back to what I was talking about in my intro, especially this last legislative session. I had the opportunity to vet all the legislators for the State Freedom Caucus Network, and so I was able to go to a lot of the days of the session and go into meetings with some of the members that were working with the State Freedom Caucus Network to get that going. And it was really nice to be able to get my hands, deep into the bills coming in and out of both the House and the Senate, and to have that understanding. And so that's been my involvement. I think it's been the most this for each session to see things, particularly 2 sessions ago, HB 11, Kara Berkman's bill. That was a really exciting time. I was excited to be up there for that as well.
Thanks, Jared. Okay, I think Matt said he wanted to weigh in.
Yeah, so I was actually quite active this last session. I worked very closely with Carson Jorgensen, our former state party chair, on several issues. One of them was with Jake Anderegg and one of our representatives down at the south end of the valley on our voter list, because currently we do not see withheld voters on the voter list. And we got a law passed that makes it so we can see information about our withhelds. We don't get their name because we do want to respect their privacy. That was a big one. Another one we did work on that did not pass, I really would have loved to path, where we could get underneath the boot of signature gathering. Signature gathering is something I've actually worked on 6 years now. I was part of the original Keep My Voice team to hold back, count my vote with their 2.0 initiative that would have gotten rid of our convention process as we know it now. And I'm very proud of that work.
Thank you. Yes, I've run into that issue with the number. So, appreciate that. Okay, this one, did you want to do a?
No, just point of inquiry. So is it only one way that we get?
Yeah, one in this round, and then if everybody answers once, we still have time, then we'll go for a second count. Yeah. No worries. Okay, so this one is a little concerning. I saw this happen this week, and this question says Governor Cox and the legislature paved a way to remove, well, actually, this is not completely correct, so I'm gonna reword this. So, as a lot of you guys know that local municipalities have been mandated to do high-density housing. And a lot of the citizens are upset with that. They have been going to their city councils, and city councils are saying, the state has told us that we have to meet a mandate, right? And so a lot of you are aware of this. Recently, the governor came out and said that he is aware that there are roadblocks with this imbalance, and he wants to make sure that those roadblocks are removed, and he's been working with the League of Cities and Towns to make it so that citizens cannot do a referendum on people who stand in that way. How do you feel about this, and how do you feel about local control in government? Heidi, and then Corey.
So I am currently the chair of the Utah County Planning Commission, and one of the things I've observed in my conversations and my own two eyes with city council members, in particular at the county level, is over the last 4 to 8 years, we have seen the state government usurping the authority of our municipalities, and this land use authority has been degraded to the point where we can't determine in our own cities the width of our garage, the width of our streets, the size of our plats, and this has been coming down from the state. And so local the people governs best, but we need to restore the authority that they have taken from the municipalities. We don't like it when the federal government comes in and takes our authority away, and by the same token, we need to restore the power back to our cities.
Okay, Corey and then Devon.
So I think the primary source of our society is the family, and you move up from there. And so when it comes to local control, what we're getting is mandates from the states. We're getting mandates for accessory dwelling units, which in and of themselves may not be bad. But when it comes to cities, I think that local control is the most important. What we need to do is, when it comes to high-density housing, we need to step back and we need to say, do we have the infrastructure in place to handle this? Do we have the water? Do we have the roads? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the sewer? In Traverse Mountain, if you add a bunch of residents, as is mandated by the state, there may not even be enough sewer. There's definitely not going to be enough water without a new tank. So what we need to do is step back and say, be smart, have common sense. If I'm in the state legislature, we're not going to get state mandates. I'm not going to vote for it. I'm not going to vote for mandates on the cities. I'm not going to vote for mandates on you. So as that trickles down, there is a real effect on the cities. They're forcing us to do TODs. They're forcing us to have high density housing. I think in our area of the valley, we have done our part. Okay.
Thank you. I echo a lot of Corey's sentiments. Local control is best, always. But it's not just the governor. In fact, the last legislative session, Senator Fillmore sponsored a bill that is much in line with what you're describing here. We effectively put the state government place limitations on ADUs and required that cities who fail to report the appropriate use of ADUs would have to pay excessive fees. I want to say that fees compounded daily, which is really interesting because you're just basically robbing tax dollars from the city, which you guys pay and giving to the state government. Worse than that, they allocated it to a very specific fund to fund the homeless, which I think is great, but it's your tax dollars, went to the city, they stole it from you, and then gave you a program that you didn't get to vote on. Nah, not cool.
Okay, the next one, near and dear to my heart. What would you say to someone who feels the caucus system may be too limiting for representation? Anybody want to take a hand in that? Craig and then Charles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In 2015, I had the opportunity and was elected as the Utah County Republican Party Chair. And and served in that position for 2 years. So that means we straddled the 2016 election cycle, which had in it a complication of signature gatherers who were facing caucus convention vetted candidates who were nominees from the party coming out of our county convention. So we determined as a steering committee that we would go head to head with the powers that be. Some of them were some of the senators that are still sitting up there in the legislature. We went head to head with them. We had 3 races where we went against signature gatherer candidates, Ryan Green, Mark Roberts, and Corey Malloy. We were 3 for 3 wins because we used boots on the ground, we used party resources, and we used good common sense and the party platform to vet our candidates.
So when they say too limiting, I want to know what they mean by that, right? Because I was talking to a delegate out in the hallway, and we were talking about the signature path. And the reality is if Bernie Sanders moved to Utah, registered as a Republican, collected signatures, he could go to the primary ballot. And if he could get enough people out there who decided they liked him, he could win with his principles, which are diametrically opposed to our party platform. And so there has to be some limiting factor, right? And so what is the limiting factor? Well, the caucus convention system provides a way for us and our neighbors to know who these people are, who is getting nominated, who's going through the primary, and who ultimately goes to represent us. And so it's not limiting, it's freeing, because if I don't have time to vet them, I can send somebody else who I trust to vet them.
And I have to take the opportunity to plug the caucus system. My vision for Utah County is that if anybody wakes up in your neighborhood, that they are only a couple of phone calls away from their elected representatives that have been making those decisions. And so there is no greater system than you in your neighborhood knowing who you have elected, and then so if you have somebody in your neighborhood that calls you, you're the precinct chair, you call your House district chair, they call their representative, they call their senator, you're done. There is no other system that brings you closer to that. And so any of these ideas for no labels or monkey type of primaries, I'll argue all day long against that. So I appreciate that everybody on the stage seems to feel a similar way. So. Okay, would you support a parental bill of rights in Utah? And what are your top 3 values that you would want in that bill?
I'll take this one. Obviously, this is something I'm passionate about. So every parent deserves a voice in education. Public education was instituted by the people to serve children, not by the people to serve teachers' unions. And it needs to be kept that way. Parents should never feel like the morals they teach at home are conflicted, confounded, or ridiculed in a classroom setting. So yes, I would support a Bill of Rights for parents.
Thank you. Anybody else?
This is part of the one round. So
Okay, so this question has come up over in my neck of the woods. We have one city that's chosen to do this and one that has chosen not to. So this has to do with law enforcement using license plate readers. And so an adjacent city has decided to do it. My city, thank goodness, has decided not to. And so law enforcement really likes these new technologies. So I guess the broader question is about using technologies and where is the line on your personal rights. I know it's so hard. Yeah.
In this country, we have the right to go face to face with whoever's accusing us. And I don't think it's appropriate to punt that off to an algorithm who stands unaccountable. We don't know who's behind it. We don't know who wrote it. And I think if I'm going to get an officer telling me what I'm doing on the road, then that officer better witness it, document it, and talk to me about it. Write to me. But I support and believe that the individual right is fundamental to protect, and that our Constitution was divinely created to protect individual rights and freedom for a civil society.
Okay, this one has to do with, did you want to answer that last one, or are you okay with it? Okay. Oh, I love that. That's how I roll. Where do you stand on individual medical freedom? If or when there is another vaccine mandate, what stand will you take and why?
During the COVID lockdown, I mentioned this earlier before my opening statement, we had a lot of government overreach that hurt a lot of businesses specifically, and I come from a business family. We have businesses, and the amount of responsibility the government put on those businesses to not only enforce vaccines, but also to pay for them, to test them. They didn't have the resources. Control. I am all for allowing localities to do what they want and for families to be empowered to do what they want with their kids. The vaccine was new. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't have enough testing. And so we needed to have more time, and also we needed to allow people to choose for themselves.
Thank you. I think that individuals need to be educated on the decisions that they are making for themselves. There needs to be a space and time for people to not have so much oversight not have any oversight from the government mandating that things have to happen on purpose. And we need to protect those individual rights. And that's, if we come to another space where there are vaccines circling back around, I think we need to respect everybody's ability to make their own decisions on what they are going to do with their own bodies.
Okay, did I miss anyone? Everybody has had an opportunity to answer.
No. Wade has.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Okay, this question is about the terms that have been used very recently in the last 5 years they've caught on, and those terms are sustainability, and whether or not there is a climate crisis, and we all need to run for the hills. And so the question is regarding sustainability and climate. Do you think that it is being used right now, overly used as a political nudge, and people are taking advantage, or do you subscribe to all of those things that they're putting forward?
It's clearly a political tool, right? So the term settled science is fascinating to me because science by its very nature is not settled, right? You ask questions, that's the scientific process. That's what we do. And so the idea that it's settled, it bleeds into a bunch of these other questions. The body autonomy question, what goes in your body? We just saw in California they had the same, they put forward legislations that say that the state, their school teachers, one of them passed, right? Juvenile surgery. Like, we need to be able to control ourselves, and that comes from, it's a settled science. Like, this is gender affirming. So I think we need to be very, very careful when we have terms like settled science, right? Science is by its nature never settled. So do people contribute to, the warmth of the earth? Sure. The great shift that occurred in my lifetime, from global cooling to global warming to now climate change. Well, of course it's changing. It's always going to change, right? We're in actually a cool period. So actually what's going to happen is warm, right? So my time's out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did I miss anything? Well, here's the question. We are at 8:35, and so we have a minute per, so we're 12 more in. I don't know how we handle it, if everybody did it again, but we could save it for the next time we're here. Or the other one. Okay, very good. Okay, so we are going to turn it over to the closers, which will be 1 minute per person. We'll do it the same way we did the openers, and then after we will have everybody, they can go back to their booths if you want to talk to people further. If you only got to visit with half of them and you still want to finish up, they'll hang around for just a minute. I do have an assignment for you guys though, because you are delegates, a lot of you are precinct chairs. If you are a precinct chair, please go over your list and see which of your state delegates did not attend tonight and see if maybe you can get them to come to the next one. or the one after that. And so I'm giving you that assignment. You can text me and tell me when you've done it. But this is the deal. People need to know when they're missed. And so if you have state delegates that didn't come, let them know that you missed them. Because we need them here, we need them at the next one, and we definitely need them October 11th, but better than that, we need them to vet these candidates. So that's your assignment. Please take it seriously. That will help the whole system work. So I'm going to give this microphone back, and you're going to take a minute, and then we will see you guys out in the hall after. Let's go the opposite way this time, and we'll work our way back if that's okay. Sorry, no pressure down there.
Man, I was really feeling comfy over here at the end. Present you guys. One of the two questions I really wish I had the opportunity to answer is how am I going to remain loyal to you, and how am I going to stand up against bullying senators? For me, it's just what I do. When I see an opportunity to advocate for someone that I care about, I do it. I care about you guys. I have businesses here. I see 600 families come through my swim school every single week. I know your faces. I know your problems. I know the struggles that you're up against. I want to talk to you, and I want to be able to help you solve problems. That's really what this is about for me. Problems that I experience are the problems that you experience. I hate bad traffic. I hate government reaching into my front door. I hate all those same things that you guys hate. I'm just really good at solving problems, and I hope that you look to me for that solution. I will represent you. Thank you.
So I have 20 years experience in the conservative fight. I know how to get things done. I have many years of fighting and doing and knowing how the process works. And for many of you, I've been to your home. I've heard from you. You told me what's important to you. I'm going to be the most accessible state senator in history. If you text me, Wayne, I'll text you back, okay? Katie, you call me, I'll call you back, all right? Every time. So that's my dedication to you. I'm going to work on our issues. I have the experience to do it. I know how to do it, and I care about each one of you. I love getting to know you. I love to get to know you better. Thanks.
I just want to thank you all for coming out. I wish I could have answered all of these questions. Luckily for me, there is technology. If you go to my website, garrettdallin.com, I answer almost every single one of them. So I appreciate you went and checked me out there, and I'm excited to continue to get to know you as I continue my district delegate tour. I plan on knocking on every single one of your homes, and I'm excited to get to know all of you. And please ask me the tough questions. And I think all of us up here will tell you, just as Corey said, that we will be accessible for you. Corey will call you back. Come to my house, 3087 West, 2400 North for dinner. I'm open anytime. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for all you do, for being delegates, for serving. I truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you.
People come here and people stay here for the robust economy, the prospect of homeownership, and the chance to raise a family in an environment that is rich with conservative values. We are all subject matter experts in something. When I've talked to you at the door or when I've talked to you on the phone, I ask you what you do for your day job. Because as a legislator, we're expected to know everything. But the reality is, every day we're just trying to narrow the field of ignorance. And I know many of you in this room, and I want to know you better. And I hope you know me through the years of service and the decade that I've been fighting for the things that we all consider important. My journey has been organic. I didn't study poli-sci. I have a master's in human resource management, and my undergraduate is in anthropology. I've taught Spanish and Japanese. I love learning, and I want to learn from you because I know I don't know everything, but I'm resourceful, and I will use you because together we make things better. Please vote for me, Heidi Balderee. Thank you.
I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to ask for your vote. I'm grateful for the service that you have all provided to Utah. And I want you to know that Utah has become my home. It will continue to be my home until it's time for me to go home to the Lord. I am grateful that I've landed here, and I am grateful that it has been placed on my heart to continue to serve in this manner. I am very passionate about the people of Utah and about my ability to serve you. I hope that you can see into my heart, and I hope that you know that with my communications background and my background for people, I can really provide the newness and the perspective that is needed to bring Senate District 22 into the future. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for being here this evening. What a wonderful opportunity forum we have to meet together. Make no mistake about it, there's a war that goes on up at the Capitol for 6.5 weeks every year, and during interim days, once a month. And you need somebody, we need somebody, to be up there who can actually engage in the battle, who's been in the battle before. I provide that experience. It's important to know who to talk to. It's important to know how to get things done. It's important to know which people to trust when you're talking to lobbyists up there. I don't cater to lobbyists. I cater to you. You are the lifeblood of this communication line. Let me just say that I provide that experience. The experience matters up there. I appreciate your service. As one who has been involved in this process of the Utah County Republican Party for a couple of decades, this matters. You matter. Your choice matters. Thank you.
Fellow community members, I just want to end with a story, and I excuse those over there at the cottage meeting last night before I shared this then. But in December of 2021, I got an email from LA County Department of Public Works saying that if I didn't record and document the vaccine status of all my employees, my $50,000 contract with the city would be revoked. And I said no. I would not record it. I didn't back down for 50 grand in, and I won't back down or turn my coat on what matters to this district for $100,000 from a lobbyist or anybody else trying to fund my campaign. And on this day, I swear in front of all of you that I will self-fund this campaign, and if elected, my re-election campaign, so I have no political or financial encumbrances when I enter office next year.
So I'm pretty comfortable behind the microphone. I mentioned that I'm a technologist, I'm also a podcaster, and I've produced more than 4,000 podcasts. I have a community across the world of programmers that I communicate with on a regular basis. It isn't a one-way, hey, this is what happened today. It's a two-way thing, right? We have it back and forth. I find out what these people want, and then I make sure that they get it. And that's what I'm committing to do for you. I will open the channels, right? I will give you ways so that you can weigh in on the things that you really care about. Because we all care about the same things. We care about our families. We care about our kids and our grandkids. I hear that all the time. We care about the elections. We care about whether or not we're going to have the right things happen in the right places in our communities. Whether or not the federal government is usurping state authority, or whether the state's usurping local authority. And if we're paying attention to these things, and we're communicating about these things, and we're communicating about the problems we have, then we can find solutions. I like to think out of the box. I'm always the guy at the charter school board meeting that's going, well, what if we did the crazy thing that would work? I'm Charles Max Wood, shopforutah.com.
Wade Garrett. I built a large transportation company. I spent the last 5 years in higher education. Spent 120 nights in a hotel last year talking to state legislatures around the country and their governors about what we can do to address the outcomes issues in higher education. I have been a public utilities commissioner. I serve right now on the district community council for Alpine School District. I am the only male in that room who is not employed by the district. We cannot leave the solution of all of our problems to the wonderful moms that we have. Right? I love that everybody here has stepped forward and volunteered to serve and volunteers to come forward. But what we need in this election can get things done. And I'm the one that can do that.
Thank you again for being here. One of the best parts about this campaign is that I've met with you in your homes and had amazing phone calls where we, of course, have talked issues. But what has been more important to me is connecting with you on the story and that it happens in your lives and in mine. As I shared with you the challenges I've faced in my life, we have something in common. When you and I are faced with challenges, we overcome them. We don't turn to government and ask to take care of us. Instead, we approach that with that personal responsibility and we take control of our lives. I love that I'm in a district full of people who take control of their life, and I am looking forward to representing you and taking control of the solutions needed for our district and representing you on the Senate floor. Thank you.
Max Sims. Thank you all for being here. I love to see my friends here. I've worked with you through many years of our party. I want to quickly talk about one thing I didn't get a chance to talk about in the questions. That's our caucus convention system. It is crucial for us to preserve that and strengthen that system to see our state move forward. I can confidently say I have done more to strengthen the caucus convention system than anybody on this stage here. And I will take that same work for the things that are important to you in education, in transportation, in your liberties, our families, our children. Vote for Mac so I can work for you. Thank you.
If I am elected, I will be the youngest person on the Hill out of the 29 senators currently there. I won't bring conformity, I will bring representation, I will bring conservative values. And in a district that is majority millennial and Gen Z, they deserve someone who represents their values as well. Did you know that only 3% of delegates are 30 and younger? The Republican Party is dying, and we can blame the left, we can blame the media, we can blame education, but we gotta look at ourselves and see what we individually are doing to cause this. I'm someone who can bridge the divide between the voters and the party. I'm someone who can bridge the divide between the constituents and the legislature. Vote for me. But if you want more representation, if you want a fresh, new conservative voice, please vote for me, Elizabeth Rasmussen, for for District 22 Senate. Okay, thank you all very much. One more round of applause for all of our candidates. Thank you so much. Okay, so just one more thing. I think this would be kind of fun. At our next one, I think, have you guys seen the rapid fire that has been done? I think it'll be fun to see rapid fire questions and some scenario questions. I think this was a really great introduction to all of them, and I would like to see a little more in depth. I do know how things go with committee meetings versus the NGO, so if we could dig into that with real life experiences that they are going to have if they become your senator, so that you can figure out how that vote will go, that's what we're here for. Also, one more time, your assignment, if you're a precinct chair, find out which of your state delegates did not come, and give them a call, friendly reminder, see if they need a lift, see if they didn't get the communication, and how we can communicate better to them. And then if there's anything that we can do, any questions that you would like, or anything better in this process, we're at the beginning of these events, and so don't hold back. Please reach out to any of the county leadership, text us, call us, any of that stuff. So we will meet you out in the hall, and I hope to see you guys next Wednesday at the Military Academy. They will have booths that will be more casual. You can walk around and talk. That'd be a great one. The 9th, which will be another forum similar to this one, but we'll try and do some rapid fire and scenario questions. And then the 11th will be the election, which will be at Mount Ridge Junior High. We tried to get within the district, things were booked, but we got as close as we could for that one. And there was a rumor that that is a ranked choice election. It is not. I just want to stop that rumor. It's not at all. Chris Knoll, who is not in favor of ranked choice, and came out with a statement that he will be running that election. Anyway, so another round of applause, and we will see you guys next Wednesday.